I'm Leslie Orzetti with the Otsego County Conservation Association. OCCA was formed in 1968, so we just turned 50. We're now heading into 51, so we're on the second half of our century. I'm really happy to be a part of the organization that's been around for so long. And our mission hasn't wavered too much over the past 50 years, and we have always stayed true to our mission to promote the sustainable use and appreciation of Otsego County's natural resources. And I think most importantly is our vision statement, because it really speaks to how OCCA deals with these kind of big issues like energy and climate and clean water. We try to be the leading science-based organization who takes a hard look at these issues, doesn't jump on them. We like to make informed decisions. We like to look at the policy. So we are doing, like I am here, we like to come out and we like to raise awareness about these issues. And of course, energy and climate are one of the big issues we're all facing right now. We do this through 3 pillars of practice, or our program areas, which are education and outreach, research and management, and policy and planning. And what I want you to focus on is that at the bottom of all those lists is energy. Well, before we've always kind of looked at alternative energies and we have our policy statement, but right now it's kind of the big ticket item. And so, and education and outreach, I'm here talking to you. Research and management, it's looking at the data, trying to get the actual figures about what our energy needs are, what our energy infrastructure is. And we're going to try to do that and get those numbers. And then, of course, through policy and planning, we have our policy statements. We look at the governing policies both at the federal, state, and county, and then, of course, the municipal level. Since we're a home rule state, we have to pay attention to those local laws when we're looking at dealing with energy issues. I have a huge team. We're very busy. We have myself, the Executive Director, Jeff O'Hanley, which a lot of you have probably seen out on programs doing walks and lections and things like that. And then that is Danny. He works for OCCA. Daniel is a county representative. Dan sits on the city's planning commission. So he is smiling there, his hair looks nice, but on any given day I can tell how frazzled he is by like the size of his hair when he comes into office. And then of course Patricia Siebold, who keeps us all running. All right, then we have our board of directors who keeps the ship going on a straight and narrow path. I have my board chair, Vicki Lentz, here tonight, so if I can't answer any questions, hopefully Vicki can answer. And then we also have Trish Rydell-Kent, and I saw Scott Fickbaum back there, so I think, did I get all my board members? Are here. And then a whole slew of thinkers and citizens and town board members and farmers and doctors. And so we've got all these kind of big, nice heads in the room that when it comes down to these kinds of issues between the staff and the board, we take a good hard look at things. We've got a lot going on. We've got hikes coming up. We've got snowshoe walks coming up. We've got a Be Informed lecture series coming up. Earth Festival in April. Hopefully you'll all come out, because this year's theme for Earth Festival is, I bet you can't guess, energy. So we're going to try to jam-pack a schedule full of talks and information and vendors for you to see lots of good energy stuff. We do environmental education with their schools. We help the Clark Sports Center out with their camps and try to really get our younger generation knowledgeable and outside. We also coordinate volunteers for a lot of countywide efforts, including Household Hazardous Waste Day. Most recently, we have 2 big ones, and one that I didn't even put on there because it's brand new. In terms of clean water, we have Danny, who was the proposed New York State representative for the Local Government Action Committee to the Chesapeake Bay program. And we were just awarded the New York Outreach Lead for the Choose Clean Water Coalition. 2 really big New York representatives, Otsego County Conservation Association. We're really proud of that. In terms of energy, we have the Heat Smart Otsego program. Bennett Sandler is here. I'm going to give you a quick run through on Heat Smart at the end of the presentation, but if you have any questions, Bennett Sandler is the campaign director, energy efficiency man extraordinaire. He can answer your questions for you. And we also have some literature on the table. And then I am a member of the Otsego County Chamber of Commerce Energy Committee, which is working on the next big energy thing coming up on January 31st. And Barbara Ann Hegan, who is the president of the Otsego County Chamber of Commerce, is here. And if you have any questions about that energy committee for the chamber, she'll be happy to answer those for you. In terms of research and management, I see some of my stream monitors here. We have a citizen science stream monitoring program where we get people just like you out there in the creeks and helping to measure water quality to make sure that the water quality that we are sending to the bay from New York is good water quality. Then, of course, we do all sorts of invasive species programs. We get you out, we get you in the canoes pulling water chestnut or yanking Japanese knotweed out of the ground. And then, of course, energy. And this is where we start looking at and doing research in the data and the infrastructure and seeing really what our needs are and what our future holds or can hold. And you can see that we're also leaders in environmental planning for the county. We were the lead author on the Ag and Farmland Protection Plan, and we all know that agriculture is a huge sector of our economy in Otsego County, so it's very important that we have a plan so we can steer that ship forward as well. We also do a lot of citizen advocacy support, which is why we're here talking to you right now. And then in terms of energy, what we're up to is doing climate adaptation planning. We're trying to bring funding into the county so that we can get Otsego County on a path to be able to mitigate and adapt to a changing climate. And we all know we see those huge rainstorms coming down, like Dan talked about. Our road infrastructure is impacted, our 911 and our EMS is impacted, our water quality is impacted. So, you know, this changing climate is not just, oh, gee, it's getting warmer. There's a lot of enormous impacts to the county, which affects our infrastructure and our everyday living. And then finally, we were lucky enough to be asked to serve on the leadership committee for the Otsego County Board of Representatives Energy Task Force. And I'll be talking a little bit about that in just a minute. Conservation can't happen in a vacuum. None of the work that we do could be done without our partners. And so that is certainly not an exhaustive list, but we work with lots of people all the time on different programs. All right, now let's get into the energy stuff. OCCA had their first energy policy statement in 2015. And then last year, a subgroup of the board of directors decided it was time to update that policy. And this is the updated policy right here. The board of directors and the staff will always support research and development to forward the application of alternative energy. What do we mean by alternative energy? Well, we look at alternative energy sources as geothermal, wind, solar, and hydroelectric generation. So I think everybody needs, while we're all excited about alternative energy sources, and think about what the future unintended consequences of those alternative energy sources could be. And that's where OCCA uses the State Environmental Quality Review Act, or SECRA, to make sure that when we are installing those alternative energy projects, that they are sited properly, that maybe we don't want to put them on prime farmland because that farmland could be used to generate food for the area, trucking in food from the West Coast or flying it in from Argentina when we can make our own food here. Our partners, CADE, are actually working on looking at New York State, especially this area, as becoming the breadbasket for the country. So I just want everybody to keep in mind before we all jump over and jump on top of our alternative energy sources that we really need to be very conscientious about where we site them. So I am, and the organization will be pro and is pro alternative energy sources, being mindful where we site them and how we site them. All right, now New York State. What is New York State starting to do? And again, new stuff came out again after I made this slide presentation with the Green New Deal, which is actually really promoting a green economy. What are the New York State climate and energy goals? So first off, a 40% reduction in greenhouse gas levels from 1990 levels. Second of all, we want 50% of our generation of electricity to come from renewable sources. And we also want a 23% decrease in energy consumption. All right, let's try to work on that energy efficiency. We talked about kind of the trade-off a little bit. You heard maybe becoming more efficient will lessen the burden on the current gas load. The biggest users in Oneonta for gas are SUNY Oneonta, both the colleges, and the hospital. So let's see how we could work with them to try to make them more energy efficient. All right, how do we meet these targets? This is a nifty little graph. Thank you, Bennett. So if you see where we are in 2019, the wedges kind of change and shift over time, but what's the low-hanging fruit? I guess, what can we look at for the low-hanging fruit? So in 2019, where we are, zero carbon electricity. Well, we need to make 20 or 50% of our electricity come from renewable sources. That's the goal for the state. All right, so we've got that. What's the next wedge there? Energy efficiency. Woo, how about that Heat Smart? How about those those LED bulbs? How about turning off the lights when you leave the room? I'm always on my kids for that one. And the next largest wedge is residential renewable thermal. Woo, how about that Heat Smart? All right, so in Otsego County, we are already trying to accomplish this. All right, so what are some other state programs and policies that support, and this is by no means an exhaustive list, but these are the two big ones. Reforming the Energy Vision and the Clean Energy Standard. These are large programs and multi-year efforts to try to become more energy efficient and strive to get our cleaner sources of electricity. All right, so the governor's trying to move the ship forward and trying to be more conscious of where we get our energy and how we use our energy. All right, another big program I wanted to talk about, Climate Smart Communities. We have a Climate Smart Communities expert in the NYSERDA. Amy Wyant is here. If anybody has any questions about these programs that I'm talking about, she's the lady to talk to. All right, so Climate Smart Communities. It is a program that encourages communities to mitigate and adapt to climate change. In order to become a climate smart community, you pass a resolution with these 10-point pledge. Okay, so our county is considering becoming a climate smart community. There might be a vote on becoming a climate smart community, so if you know who your county rep is, shoot them an email and say, I encourage you to vote to become a climate smart community. All right, who are the climate smart communities in Otsego County? Otsego County itself is trying to be, but remember we're a home rule state, so every small municipality governs itself. So we have the town of Roseboom, Otsego, Hartwick, and town of Richfield. The city of Oneonta is also a climate smart community, as well as the village of Cooperstown. So all of these entities have taken that pledge to try to adapt to and mitigate for climate change. All right, the next is the Clean Energies community. And the Clean Energy community is a NYSERDA sponsored program. Does everybody know what NYSERDA is? New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. All right, so NYSERDA has all of these great sponsored programs that help with financial rebates and incentives and promoting energy efficiency and alternative energies. And again, there's New York Sun, there's Energize New York, there's Solarize, there's all these other programs that I'm not even talking about. But the Clean Energy community help communities implement things to lower their carbon footprint and promote energy efficiency. And in order to be a designated clean energy community, you must have at least 4 of these high impact items. And they are benchmarking, which just means you're keeping track of what you're doing. Clean energy updates, LED streetlights, which I know in some communities is difficult because of who actually owns the streetlights. Clean fleets, which means having electric vehicles. Solarize, and we're actually going to talk about a different but similar program with Jackie Burke, Solstice. The Unified Solar Permit, Climate Smart Communities. So if you actually take the pledge to be a climate smart community, that gives you points to be a clean energies community. Lots tied together here. Actually becoming a certified community. Community choice aggregation, which means that you have a choice where your energy comes from. We have Mega, we have Otsego Electric, we have options for solar. How many of us have done Solstice? All right, and then Energize New York, which is a financing program. All right, which of our communities in Otsego County are clean energy communities? So some are participating and some are designated. Those that are designated have actually made at least 4 of those high impact choices. And those are the Village of Cherry Valley, Otsego County, and the City of Oneonta. And then those who are still on their way and have made the commitment to get there are Town of Roseboom, Village of Cooperstown, and Hartwick. Once those communities get their 4 high impact items, then they become designated. Alrighty, so Otsego County Energy Task Force. I'm lucky enough to have been asked to serve as a leadership committee member. Bob Wood is also here somewhere, and he is also on the leadership committee, as well as, so this is a county board-sponsored program. It was started and is sponsored by Meg Kennedy and Michelle Farwell, so we have bipartisan support. And as well as Bob and then Greg Mattice, who is the engineer for the City of Oneonta. So there are 5 of us serving on the Energy Committee, and we have been tasked with coming up with a larger task force to help us carry out our mission, which is the work group and resulting energy plan. So the county will do a plan, just like we did the Otsego County has an ag and farmland protection plan. Many of your towns have comprehensive plans. So the county is going to come up with its own executable, realistic energy plan to steer the county forward for a more sustainable energy future. To become more energy secure and resilient, while also taking into consideration the economic needs, the health and welfare, and environmental sustainability. So a lot of times people think that economic development and environmental sustainability are on a divergent path, and they don't need to be. There are many, many communities, very many countries who have seen economic growth and environmental sustainability moving forward together. So it is able to be done, and we are trying to put together a diverse group of stakeholders, which will be broken up into 4 different working groups. Those working groups are buildings and efficiency, energy supply and distribution, economic development, and environment. Those of us on the leadership committee have called the people. We've taken into consideration all sectors and all types of people to serve, because a stakeholder-based plan is only as good as the diversity of its members. And so it's very important that we take into consideration all of the needs of the county for a county-wide executable plan. Heat Smart Otsego. So Otsego County Conservation Association was lucky enough, with the help of Bennett Sandler, to bring in a $150,000 grant from NYSERDA for 3 years and to execute the Heat Smart Otsego program. We were one of 8 communities or community groups who won this grant. And the Heat Smart Otsego program, as you can see here, is to help promote clean heating and cooling. And basically what it will do is help consumers make choices on clean heating and cooling for their homes or their businesses. And it doesn't leave you hanging out there to go, oh my God, who should I use? What should I use? How should I do it? What's the path forward? What it does is the program has vetted a set of installers to help you make choices about what is best for your home or your business. It has a set financing, and it also will hook you up to see what incentives that you are qualified for as a home or business owner. The good thing is that it helps reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. So it takes you off of oil, takes you off of natural gas, and gets you on some other sort of source of energy for your heating and cooling. And so what we're looking at for the program is envelope improvements. So insulation, helping your windows out, stuff like that. And then going into the different heating and cooling technologies, such as air source and ground source heat pumps. Different kinds of biomass boilers and furnaces, and then finally pellet stoves and wood stoves. The first step in the process, if you haven't already, how many of you have had an energy audit, a home energy audit? Awesome. I'm getting mine Monday, provided he can get through whatever snow we get. So the first step in the process is to have a home energy audit. And once you have a home energy audit, you know what's going on in your home. From there, you can say, okay, well, I've got leaky windows. Perhaps I should try to replace the windows, or maybe I need to replace some insulation. And then from there, you can look to, and Bennett will walk you through the process of what is best for your home. Is it a pellet stove? Is it an air source heat pump? Is it a ground source heat pump? I live in the village of Cooperstown, probably digging a giant well in my backyard for geothermal. Probably not feasible, but could I put an air source heat pump in and get the bonus of air conditioning in the summertime? I could. Steps for participation, you can go ahead and sign up on Heat Smart Otsego website, and then Bennett will get in touch with you and then walk you through the process of, if you haven't had an energy audit, get one, and then walk you through the process to see what's really best for your home or your business. This is just to show you the cost of heating fuels over the course of a year. So, of course, down here at the bottom, you'll see that more of the renewable geothermal and air source heat pumps are here at about $1,000, where you look at, how many of you have a propane furnace? Uh-oh, that's the least efficient. You're paying about $4,000 if you lived in Maine, $4,000. Electric baseboard, how many of you have that? I got that in my back room. Yeah, that's no good. That's not very efficient either. You're paying about $3,500 a year. Followed by oil. How many of you are on oil? Yeah, that is actually in Otsego County, that is the #1 fuel used to heat homes. That is a nut that we could all try to get off of. All right, there's Bennett's contact information. He also has brochures and cards on the table over here. Thank you.